welcome to the party I am obsessed with tonight. I'm so obsessed with it. Like, it's so terrible, but I am so obsessed with it. I really liked doing these slides. I learned a lot. And I watched the Netflix thing about him. That was like 3 episodes. This is, what am I drinking? Organic sparkling lemon juice. It says flavored juice from concentrate. I love this. It's so good. If you know, you know. Hi. I should have put chapstick on before this. Yes, I am on Twitch. For those of you on TikTok, to see the pictures, to see the videos, you have to come to Twitch. Strawberry Shortcake 95, thanks for subscribing. I opened that here for y'all. I was going to do it close to the mic, but I kind of really had to get in there, and I didn't want to spill it on my computer, so sorry about that. That's good. It's real good. Not as carbonated as it usually is, but very good. All right. My best friend just saw Doc at Sam's Club last week. I don't think it was him. He's in prison. I don't think it was him. That was a lookalike, I think. Thanks for entertaining me for my 12-hour road trip home for Thanksgiving. Binged your videos. Oh my God. I take that as such a compliment, because if you were willing to listen to this for 12 hours, wow. I've successfully done a reverse pipeline, went YouTube, then Twitch, then TikTok. Wait, so you found me on YouTube? That I'm sure it's out there, but I rarely come across people who found me on YouTube. How do you make your hair look so soft? I don't know. Like, the best explanation I have is that, like, I had a past life where, like, I did something. Like, I, like, made some kind of sacrifice to have good hair. That's the only thing I could really tell you. Wait, it was another Tiger King guy? I always get them confused. Bitch, not me finally completing the pipeline, a 7-Eleven parking lot. But yeah, the only tips I have for hair, drink a ton of water. My hair really started, like, being in her moment when I started drinking a lot of water. I only wash it once a week, which some people think that's gross, and it might be, but clearly it's working. And then also just, like, leave it alone. Like, I don't dye it and I don't use heat on it, and I think that helps a lot too. A lot of people have, like, medium hair and then they use heat on it and use, like, so many products on it and, like, bleach it a ton, and it makes their hair really thin. So people think they have thin hair, but they actually don't. They just have never given their hair the chance to, like, do its thing. Oh, my screen is a little weird. Let me fix that and let's get started. Actually, something has gone awry. Yeah, there we go, I guess. Whatever. But anyway, let's actually get started now that we've already been here for 3 minutes. And again, for those of you on TikTok, come to Twitch. That's how you see the pictures and have the most fun time. Also, I got a bigger table, so now I have more space and I can have my drinks on the table, and I, like, have plenty of space. It's actually not a table. It's 2 small tables that I just shoved together. So far, the only thing I don't like is that because my floor is crooked, things are going downhill rapidly here. Because my floor is crooked, one of them is a little wobbly. So I want to, like, stick, like, a wobble wedge or, like, something under there so it doesn't wobble. Because if it was both of them wobbly, it wouldn't really bother me. Like, if they were in sync wobbling, but having one side wobble and not the other is disheartening. I have hair like yours, and you're 100% correct. Yeah, like, I know that I'm extra hair blessed, but I think a lot of people are hair blessed and they don't know because they don't let their hair be its natural, like, way. Like, using heat on it every day is so bad for your hair. Like, women that are like, oh yeah, I straighten my hair every single day, stop doing that. Don't do that. Okay, but anyway, let's talk about Doc Antle. So Bhagavan Antle, his real name is Kevin. That man's name is Kevin. I will be referring to him as Kevin on and off throughout this because his name is Kevin. I'm okay with anyone changing their name except when he does it like this. Then I'm not okay with it. So, I just got here. Don't call me out like that. You and Frazzled were in my Spotify Wrapped. I was wondering today, I was like, why am I getting so many notifications that I'm being tagged in people's stories? I thought I was getting canceled. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But then it was Spotify Wrapped, which I loved. Thank you. But anywhooms, Bhagavan Antle, known as Doc Antle, is an American animal trainer, private zoo operator, and convicted felon. What a triple. Imagine playing two truths and a lie, and you say, I'm an animal trainer, I'm a private zoo operator. Actually, I would believe all these. Like, if someone said they were a private zoo operator, but they weren't a convicted felon, I'd be like, why do you have that job? That's like a felon-type job to have. No disrespect to felons. There's a lot of great people with felonies on their record, but, like, private zoo operator, like, that's someone who's had a past. Like, they've had things happen to them. You know what I mean? I know my experience is different because I'm black, but even straighter hair, clarify and condition once a week, co-wash, only use conditioner when needed. Oh, that's the other thing. I only use conditioner on the bottom half of my hair. No conditioner goes up here. I only use it on the bottom half of my hair, but I think that probably varies by your hair type as well. No disrespect to felons. I mean, like, okay, so, because I already know my principal is going to be like, girl. When I say no disrespect to felons, what I mean is that the vast majority, like 90-some% of people in prison had a plea deal and never actually saw a court and a trial and all of that. So there's a lot of innocent people with felonies on their record. A lot of innocent people with felonies on their record. Or people that got, like, framed for other people or were, like, doing something unknowingly. Like, there's a lot of ways to get a felony that, like, is not the direct fault of that person. And then if you don't have a lawyer and you get a public defender, they're probably going to make you do a plea deal. So, like, you kind of have to plead guilty. Or you can sit there and wait for years and years and years on your trial with no bail. So there's a lot of people that plead guilty who aren't guilty. So that's when I say no disrespect to felons. I mean, like, as a category of people, they're not all bad. You know? What's going on with the bug sitch? I just saw on TikTok and remembered. So I didn't want to, like, bust my school out because, like, I really don't like speaking negatively about my school because, one, I could lose my job, and two, like, if I was a kid and I saw my teacher, like, talking shit about the school on social media, I'd be like, damn. You know what I mean? So I try to, like, I'll make fun of, like, the district and, like, professional situations, but I try not to bust out, like, problems that could be, like, embarrassing, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. But I wanted to tell y'all that story, and it was such a minor part of the story. I should have just made something up. But anyway, the bug situation, a wasp has taken refuge in a vent, is the situation. So now someone that knows more about wasp than any of us has to come deal with that. But that person apparently has lots of things to deal with. Because it's not someone, like, that's not a problem someone within the school can deal with, you know? So, someone's coming. That's what matters. But anyway, we're a community and we're all working together. And that is the important part. But anyway, let's stop talking about my job because that's boring. And let's talk about Doc Antle because I assure you, 'tis a wild ride. Stop letting me get distracted. So he was born in Salinas, California in 1960. He grew up on an industrial farm in Salinas. He is a part of a wealthy family connected to Tanamura and Antle, which is an agriculture company. His father was a boxer, but Kevin dropped out of school before 9th grade. As teenagers, him and his girlfriend went to a Yogaville place, which we will be talking much more about. And that girlfriend, they ended up getting married, which we'll also be talking about. So this is a Reddit photo I found of Kevin in the 1970s with his girlfriend, Betsy. She will be returning. We will talk about her a lot. She has been through it, let me tell you. So through family business connections, he traveled to China where he studied basic medical training and to serve rural populations. So he had what would be the equivalent of, like, what the Red Cross guy at a music festival has. Like, he does have some medical training, but that is by no means a doctor in any any way, shape, or form at all. So that's when he started referring to himself as Doc. He returned to the U.S. in the 1980s, a time when American interest in health, food, and mindful living was growing, and he began practicing alternative medicine at the Yogaville community in Virginia. So this is what he looked like in the 80s. He's a terrible person, but like real can recognize real. That was the look of the 1980s. Like, he was the it boy. You can see it in his face. Like, that was the look of the 1980s. Like, you're not going to tell me I'm wrong about that. He looks awful now, but I can see where at the time people were like, okay, you know, gonna make my students call me Doc every time I give them a Band-Aid. No, literally same. But I feel like we'd get in some kind of stupid trouble with like the government. They'd be like, you're impersonating a false degree, and then we'd like lose our credential. Like, it would somehow get like so aggressive so immediately. Oh my god. CR fountain. I like having a drink on stream because it's always fun to have a fun drink, but I hate how I have to pause to drink it. I feel like that's mad awkward for y'all to listen to. So sorry. Like, I actually hate that. But anyway, in the 1980s, when he lived in Virginia, he was a magician and had a yard full of animals. So this is when he found Yogaville, was after he came back from China. Yogaville is a meditation complex that was founded by Swami, I don't know how to say his last name, Satchidananda, I think, who was a famous yogi who actually delivered the opening blessing at Woodstock 1969, which I also have a stream about on the YouTube. If you know, you know. So, the spot drew people from all around the world to practice in the Appalachian wilderness. They ate vegetarian, meditated multiple times a day, and paid very cheap rent. And they were supposed to adopt Sanskrit's first name. So again, his name, not Kevin, I don't know. Yeah, it is Kevin. I don't know why. For some reason, I keep wanting to think his name's Tyler, but it's not. But my brain keeps telling me it is. I think he just gives like a Tyler aura. But anyway, his ex-wife was like, yeah, his name is definitely Kevin. Because in a Rolling Stone interview, Kevin said that Bhagavan was given to him by his mother. But his wife, who went to Yogaville with him, and all of his friends from teenage and young adulthood were like, that man's name is Kevin. He told us his name was Kevin. One of his friends even mentioned, or not his friend, so a guy that knew a man, there was a man, he worked for Kevin. That man's brother said that when he met Bhagavan Antle, his brother said, oh, this is Bhagavan, or you can just call him Kevin if you're more comfortable with that. So, like, this man's name is Kevin. There's a lot of people to verify that this man's name is Kevin. I'm sure he legally changed it, but at birth, his name was Kevin. So here is a pic of him with Swami and a lion at the Yogaville place. So they're doing yoga. They're in the forest. They're in the mountains. This is life at this point in time, I guess. I made an account on here just to share that I teach elementary school outside for 5 days in October because there was a massive yellow jacket hive in my roof. Stop. For those of you on TikTok that are asking what's the topic, we're talking about the other Tiger King guy. And come to Twitch because there's a lot of photos and they're all batshit crazy. So anyway, the aura that's radiating from this, like, I feel his eyes piercing into my soul, and I mean that as derogatorily as possible. So several people that were interviewed on the Netflix show was kind of my guide to this, and then I like left some stuff out that I felt like was irrelevant and added some stuff that I felt like was relevant. But several people interviewed in the Netflix show said that Kevin Antle was heavily influenced by Swami, who was famous in the 1960s. He died in 2002, though. And someone said, if there's somebody Doc idolizes, it's Swami. And he said the way he talks about him, it's beyond hero worship. So Barbara Fisher was an employee of Doc Antle's. So she's going to come up a lot of times throughout this. So as the docuseries explains, Antle was longtime friends with Swami, who was often like to show off Antle's animals at the yoga retreats. Swami even gave Antle the name of Bhagavan, like we said. This is a reflection of how Swami reshaped his own image. Swami was born as Ramswamy Gounder in 1914 and worked as a welder in the family's car business, got married, and had 2 sons. When his wife died years later, he threw himself into spiritual studies and went on a quest to find a yoga master. He eventually found a Hindu monk, Swami Sivananda. So I guess Swami is the term for monk, so I should be saying his whole name, because otherwise I'm just calling him monk, which I guess is kind of accurate, and that's probably what they called him. That's what they all called him in the Netflix thing, because I guess in a yoga cult, you are the monk. You're the only one. So, but anyway, he found this Hindu monk, Swami Sivananda, founder of the Religious Divine Life Society, who claimed in 2016 that he is 120 years old thanks to clean eating, yoga, and celibacy. And that is the guy that gave the name Swami Switchavananda, which means existence, knowledge, and absolute. So this yoga guy, like, did a total life rebrand. This man is Doc Antle's idol. Bear with me. So this guy toured India with the monk, and they learned how to do the yoga practices, spiritual practices, all that. And then he came to America. And once he realized that he had a following in America, Swatchananda broke off from Divine Life and started his own thing, the Integral Yoga Institute in New York. Rumors spread that this could cure illnesses and like save your life and all this stuff. So other people started coming in, and that's how he got famous enough to do the Woodstock thing. So he founded 2 Yogaville centers in California and Connecticut. Years later, he got 750 acres of land in Virginia, and the Connecticut Yogaville relocated there. Enter Doc Antle. So the new location featured a large shrine and housed about 150 people and planned to grow to 1,000 residents. Don't think they ever did. And this is where Antle was going to retreat, so would put on his magic shows and absorbed the teachings. His tigers and his elephant bubbles even led the 1986 ceremony of the Virginia, according to the Washington Post. The Swami expected his followers to wear certain clothing, eat certain foods. He preached obedience, selfless service, and living in poverty. This is Antle's idol. So now Antle asked his employees at the zoo to do the same shit. He literally just copy and pasted. You couldn't even come up with your own cult. Like, you could not even come up with your own cult. How do we join his church? Oh, someone asked for the Nearpod code. Here it is. It's cut off right now. Oh, I can just move it down, actually. Then I'll make this smaller. A second to rearrange my screen a little bit. Okay, there we go. But anyway, in the Doc Antle story, Swatchananda is in that Netflix thing. They show that he's eventually accused of sexual misconduct, and in 1991, protesters waved placards that said "Stop the abuse" and "End the cover-up" outside a Virginia hotel where Swatchananda was making a keynote address. And someone said, "How can you call me your spiritual instructor when you have molested me and other women?" So apparently this like abusive yoga guy is who taught Doc Antle how to be an abusive guy. So unfortunately, no cult is unique, if I'm honest. Different lore, same manipulation tactics. Exactly. So I'm going to tell you what the manipulation tactics are. These are like the red flag things that, like, if you're in a group and they're doing this, it's like, And it's very like gray area, because some things are just social things. It's when you start getting a lot of them. So if you're in a group that controls what you eat, that's one. And not all food-based groups are cults, but it can be a red flag. Another one is controlling what you wear. And again, there are places where like what you wear is a thing, but usually it's not food and wear. So it's like when it starts to be multiple factors. And then a big one is controlling who you sleep with. That's like a big control tactic. And then the obvious ones, like controlling who you communicate with, who you're allowed to talk to, where you're allowed to go, like the big things. Weight Watchers is a cult, confirmed. See the part 2 Waco stream. No, literally. I love that now I've been streaming for like a year and a half, because there's like so many things that I've talked about, and I feel like I've like absorbed so much knowledge. So Doc Antle is literally looking at Swami Swatchananda and is like, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, let me do that shit. I want to do that shit when I grow up too. I have not done a Scientology stream. I'm actually really afraid of them. I don't want to, like, I'm scared. I don't know if I want to look into that. But anyway, Antle came to Yogaville around 1982, which is also when he bought his first tiger. He's in regular photos with Swami Swatchananda, and he's in the advertising materials. And in a 1986 Washington Post article, it described the the dedication of Yogaville's Central Lotus building mentions Antle's Bubbles the elephant leading a celebratory parade. And at the time, he being Doc Antle, was working in marketing for Exxon, is what one thing I found said. And then a different thing said that he was approached by Exxon to do a presentation with tigers at the Exxon annual convention. Why the fuck did Exxon enter the chat? Like, when I tell you this, like, what? When I read this, I was very taken aback. I was like, okay, fucking Exxon? Also, you're saying I don't understand how people casually buy a tiger. This is the 1980s. We didn't really have, like, laws against that kind of stuff. So... But yeah, Exxon, man. What the fuck ever. So, by the time he's at Yogaville, starts getting these deals, gets his first couple animals, he had a robust private zoo running not far away from the center. A neighbor, Martha Lewis, estimates that the property held 100 animals: lions, tigers, bears, monkeys, birds, an elephant, and more. It was very exciting. Night noises, lions roaring, tigers purring, the elephant Bubbles doing his thing. They would sometimes come into our yard because we were right next door. Antle could be seen on Howardsville Road walking like you'd walk a dog, he'd walk the tiger. He lived at the zoo. He was there most of the time because those animals all needed to be fed. He had a freezer full of meat, like a full big freezer full of steaks, I guess, for the animals. So despite this peaceful talk, it was not all smooth sailing at this zoo. Once Liz says, the buffalo got crazy. Buffaloes are not a good pet. They're kind of crazy. I think it went right through the fence and brought a few other animals with it. He's not a nice guy, Martha Lewis says of Antle. You probably picked that up from the publicity. He was nice to us. So that's what his neighbor from the zoo in Virginia said. She seems very amicable, and I think she's being honest. So... we're going to move on to his romantic life, because this is also in his early 20s when his romantic life starts to become a thing. Except it's not really a romantic life. It's actually criminal activity. So, trigger warning, he's literally a pedophile. Like, in the doc series on Netflix, his ex-wife is like, that man's a pedophile. So, hate to say that word. Big trigger warning on that. We're not going to talk about anything graphic at all. We're going to talk about, like, who is who and when things happen, but we're not going to talk like super graphic in any way, like I usually never do. But yeah, just wanted to give a quick heads up that his dating life is actually illegal. So starting off with the first one, which was not illegal, his girlfriend Betsy. The picture we saw of him in the 1970s, that was his girlfriend in that picture. They were high school sweethearts. This is a picture of them when they were young. She seems very cute, nice, and gorgeous. So, the way they met is fucking crazy. So, she met Doc when she was in high school. This is when he was Kevin. So, the guy that Betsy was dating lived next door to Doc's house. Kevin's house. So, the guy she's dating is next door neighbors with Doc Antle. Her and her boyfriend would always hang out at Doc Antle's house because his mom didn't give a fuck what anyone did. Like, she was the mom that didn't give a fuck. So you could do whatever at her house. So that's why they were always hanging out there. Doc Antle's mom stole Betsy's man. So when Doc Antle's mom stole Betsy's man, Doc Antle's mom went to Betsy and was like, hey, oh my God, so sorry. I know your prob's really upset about this. You should date my son. And she was like, okay, I guess I will date your son. And that's how they met. I'm being so fucking serious right now. It's not typed out here, but this is what they said in the Netflix special, and I rewinded it 3 times. I have no idea where they are. Zoe K17, thanks for subscribing. But, like... I'm sorry, what? And apparently, the people interviewing her on the Netflix thing, they were like, was anyone upset that a grown woman was dating a teenage boy? And she was like, well, we were the only ones that knew about it, so not really. And she said we were upset. What the fuck? Literally. No one here stood a chance. Like, I don't know what happened before that, but absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. So, initially, Betsy liked him because she thought he was handsome and confident, and then they went to that yoga retreat, which is where they got their new names. And this is what Betsy said. She said, this is so fucked up, and she's real as fuck for saying this. She said, he was only interested in me as long as I looked like I was 12. Until the age of 30, I weighed 100 pounds. I had no curves, just nothing. He liked women who looked like they were still teenagers. Call him out, Betsy. Call him out. So while the relationship started off well, he actually cheated on her. We're going to get more into this later, but he cheated on her with a teenager and told this teenager, Sumati, and was like, hey girl, we have an open marriage. Like, she's totally cool with this. And so a 15-year-old doesn't assume people are lying. And she was like, okay, sounds good. And then he married her, but never told Betsy. So this girl was living in a tent on the Yogaville place, like behind the Doc Antle's house, being married to him, and Betsy says she had no idea. I don't know how you don't fucking know when the girlie's in your backyard. I don't know how you don't know. Like, I really don't know how you don't know that, but she says she doesn't know. She seems traumatized. That's what I'll give Miss Betsy girl. But anyway, so they're married. He starts cheating with this younger girl, and he was legally married to Betsy, and that's when Sumati started living in the tent besides their house. Betsy also mentions that Doc was abusive during their marriage. She alleged that he strangled her multiple times, and Betsy said that Doc expressed anger upon learning that she was pregnant with his daughter, and she said that she called him when she was in labor, and she was like, I'm in labor, and he said, oh, do I have to come? And she was like, yes, you need to come. And she said that he just laid down next to her and took a nap. And then as soon as she had the baby, he left to go hang out with, she said she assumes it's Sumati, but he had like other girlfriends at the time too. So she doesn't really know who he was with. And then not too long after Betsy gave birth, Doc's spiritual backyard tent wife, child bride, Sumati gave birth to her son. So they were pregnant like right back to back. Like their pregnancies overlapped a little bit. So seems like a terrible time to be Betsy. Betsy eventually got out of the relationship, but she said it took her almost a year to get divorced from him. And she said that during the divorce process, he stole her inheritance and spent the entire thing. And in Betsy's time after her divorce, her brother said on the show, and she like kind of admitted to it vaguely, that she has had a lot of trouble with alcoholism and drinking and things of that nature, and has just had like a really rough go of it since leaving him. And if you watch the Netflix doc, like you can see, she just seems like she's been through a lot and has like lived with a lot of pain, and you can tell it like weighs on her. And she has some health issues now, it appears, as well. But yeah, OMG, no one blames you, Betsy. Hello, this man did you in. Yeah, and even people are like, oh, how do you not know he's in the backyard? Even though I said that, like, abusive relationships are crazy. So I see how, like, you can convince yourself that that's not what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in an abusive relationship like she was, you're not in touch with reality. Like, you are living in a different plane that's not reality, and you really don't understand it unless you've been in it, where, like, you don't look at things the way a regular rational person looks at things because you're so traumatized. It's very unfortunate. 0 stars. Do not recommend. But anyway, Betsy appears to have really, really struggled in this, and we're praying for you, girl. So she was Brahmi during this part of their marriage, but now she's Betsy because she left the Yogaville cult and was like, yeah, that's weird. So, Sumati Steinberg. So Sumati, she showed an inclination towards yoga and meditation at a young age. When she was just 5, her parents met with Swami Swachananda, and she began meditating at age 11. Sumati moved out of her parents' home when she was 15 and began to live at Yogaville. She stated that the community there was loving and accepting, and this is when she had come across Doc Antle, who was in his early 20s. By then, Doc was a follower of the teachings there, and he was a very popular guy. He ran the zoo close by, like we said. On the show, Sumati stated that she had sex with him on her 15th birthday, but before that, they got married in a spiritual wedding ceremony at his house. At the time, Doc was already married to Betsy, so Doc reassured Sumati that Betsy was okay with the open marriage, but like we know, that turned out not to be true. And another fucking crazy ass thing is apparently he took Sumati on a honeymoon. I think it was like to the Bahamas or Bermuda or so, like somewhere like that. Island destination on a honeymoon. And Betsy was on the trip. The whole thing just seems so weird. And she says she didn't know. She was like, oh, I just thought that girl was just like with us on vacation. He would bring friends all the time. Like, what is happening? I'm scared. So, Sumati mentioned on the show that there were multiple instances where Doc was violent and abusive towards her. She claimed there were at least 4 instances when she truly believed that he was going to kill her. Another incident she mentioned was inappropriate naked photo shoots that took place when she was underage. She was still a teenager. But apparently when Betsy found the photos, Betsy burned them. See, like, occasionally Betsy will drop some lore that I'm like, you're a girl's girl. Like, I know you're super traumatized, but I think deep down in your core, you're a girl's girl. I do, Betsy. I really do. I see that in you. So Sumati got pregnant with Doc's son, like we already know. This was Tillicum. And on the show, she stated that the pregnancy is what made her leave because she was like, wow, I really don't want my child to be in this environment, even though she was a teenager. So props to Sumati for realizing that. Importantly, Sumati, like I said, resolved that she didn't want her son to be in an abusive environment. And in a tape recording, it was like a radio interview about his life, Doc Antle in this interview said, Tillicum's mom was a crazy little teenager that, I just happened to be hanging out with too long and she got pregnant. I dragged her ass to the downtown Marriott in Washington, D.C. and didn't follow through on the birth control like we were supposed to. And lo and behold, baby. He seems like a great dad. Jail. 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 He needs to be in an underground facility. He is in jail, actually. Not for this, but for other stuff. But today, she appears to be doing much better. She got a nursing degree in the 1990s and is a certified yoga therapist and spiritual life coach and is the grandmother to 3 grandchildren. And it appears that she lives in Salt Lake City. So it seems like Sumati kind of like rose above this and was able to kind of like get a nice life for herself. But I'm sure this was not ideal to happen in formative years. This is a picture of her. This is just a screen grab from the Netflix thing. Yeah, so that's her. Slay that she was able to leave. So this is a woman who was wronged but not married. So Sachi Oba was a member at Yogaville in the 1980s. And she was a teenager. She stated that she had gone on dinners and gone to the movies with Doc when she was about 15 years old. She said that she had a relationship with someone who worked with Doc who was over 30. As she said at the time, she thought it was a choice she made and she like played her role in the relationship. But as thinking about it later as an adult, she said she was believed that she was passed on to that person and felt a lot of pressure to have a sexual relationship with them. Because she had kind of been dating Doc Antle, who was like the it guy of Yogaville. And then Doc Antle was like, actually, you're going to date my friend. And she said she just like felt very pressured in this situation. Sachi, just like Sumati, also talked about the inappropriate naked photo shoots of underage girls. She alleged that Doc had a pattern of preying on young women and had issues with his temper, with Sachi facing his anger once. In the end, Sachi mentioned on the show that she was asked to leave Yogaville because she refused to sign a pledge. She said that a lot of the people of Yogaville were like upset that Yogaville was supposed to be a celibate place and that Doc Antle was like going around screwing everyone's teenagers and just like being a nasty ass predator. So people were like complaining. So they were like, okay, we're going to have everyone sign this pledge that's like a no dating pledge. And it also said like, you'll never question the leader. You'll always stay here. Like it had a bunch of other weird shit in that. So apparently Sachi was like, I don't really feel super comfortable signing this. And everyone was like, then you can leave. So that's why she left Yogaville. And that was their shitty attempt to try and stop Doc Antle from being a predator, was by having everyone sign a little pledge. So clearly that did not work. This is a screen grab of her from the Netflix documentary. She said that she faced his anger once, but she like got emotional and said she wanted to take a break, and then they never said what it was. So I guess she decided she didn't want to speak about that. So, third wife enters the chat, but I want to be clear. When this woman enters, he's still married to Betsy and Sumati. This is all overlapped together. I just separated them to talk about them, but this is all an overlap together. It was not like there was an end to a relationship and then a beginning. They were all happening at the same time. So the two met each other for the first time at Yogaville when Radha was 11 years old, and apparently her mother Diane usually traveled a lot for work, so Radha would stay with like random families at Yogaville and stay with neighbors. Apparently that was also a like habit and tactic of Doc Antle, was to go after girls who like had kind of absentee parents or girls that were like very vulnerable in that way. So he spotted Radha at 11 years old, where her mom's out of town all of the time. She's always with these random adults, so no one's really keeping track of long-term patterns in any way. So they met each other when she was 11, and this is when she started serving as a babysitter for Doc and his first wife, Betsy. We were called Betsy. And Radha's mom said that Radha's mom, Diane, her mom, said that the day Radha met him, she looked at her mom and said, I'm going to marry him. So Radha seems like she was having a lot of thoughts and feelings as an 11-year-old as well. So based on the reports, it is stated that she admired him from the very first time she saw him. This made her begin to spend more and more time at his house. And again, she was babysitting, so she's staying over on weekends. This one, I can see how Betsy wouldn't realize, because this 11-year-old is watching your baby, and that's what Betsy said in the documentary. She said, I never assumed it would be with someone that was so young, so I just like didn't think anything of it. I thought she was just babysitting. And having an 11-year-old babysit is not weird in the 90s, just FYI. That was like super normal back then. So Radha had admired Doc Antle ever since she started babysitting their child, and they became romantic when she was 14 years old. And eventually Betsy got wind of the fact that he was having an affair with Radha, and she went and told Diane, Radha's mother. So in other reports, it stated that Diane caught them like making out, but either way, she found out and she took actions against the relationship. So Diane took her daughter Radha and took her to a Catholic school that was outside of Virginia. I think it was in California. She thought the decision would help Radha stay away from Doc, but it was not. It was gathered that Doc was talking to Radha on the phone, because Diane picked up, like, landline, you can pick it up from multiple phones. Diane picked it up and heard Radha say, okay, I'll see you soon, and it was a Doc on the other side. And apparently she walked off for school one day, and he drove up and picked her up. Apparently when he picked her up, he took her to a motel outside of Washington, D.C., and she stayed there for a month. He wasn't with her, because remember, he has 2 wives to tend to. It's giving Cody Brown. So she's living in this motel in Washington, D.C. for a month. Apparently they were deeply committed to their relationship, even outside of the knowledge of Radha's family. He said he didn't, he didn't say, but at the time, he did not mind being in a relationship with a minor. Reports have gone and said that they got married without the knowledge of Radha's parents. She said that they forged her dad's signature on the marriage documents. So they started having the affair. Then he got divorced from Betsy. Then he got to marry Radha. Like, Betsy left him around the time he married Radha. And what's crazy to me is, like, during this time, there's so many interviews and videos and, like, things from his zoo where people are like, and this is his wife, Radha, and she is so obviously a 17-year-old girl. Like, she'll be playing with the cubs and, like, walking with him, and, like, she's literally a girl. Like, who was filming? Why did no one be like, hi, I have a question. Excuse me? So apparently they enjoyed their marriage for 2 years. This is what Radha said as well before it collapsed. There's a couple different reasons that sources claim leading to the separation. some claim because of his attitudes towards young girls, and he was like still like had little girlfriends and was like making out with young girls and stuff. And in the documentary, what she said that makes the most sense to me is she said that she was like 17 and that he admitted that he was into her when she was 11. He was like, even when I saw you when you were 11, I thought you were so beautiful. And she, as a teenager, was like, that's really weird. And she said it made her like completely view the dynamic so differently. And she said it was like a light bulb for her. And she was like, you're gross. This is really weird. And like her mind, like incredible that you were under these like abusive manipulation tactics for years. And then the ick woke you up. You were like, here, no, like we're done. So others claim that it's because she got fed up with the marriage and the love life. She did say that even before that, she is the type of person that really likes to like do her own thing and doesn't like to be told what to do. And he was very, very controlling. So like those two things don't really mash up. So she said like they had been fighting and having issues. Also, for those of you on TikTok, come to Twitch. Well, thanks. And it's also speculated that she was the victim of physical abuse, but she never really directly said that. And what she did say, she was like, I went through a lot, but the other women went through a lot worse than I did, is what she said. So we'll leave it at that. So she said she waited for the perfect day when he wasn't around. She packed all of her belongings and left the marriage. What the storyline of her and her mom is, I think, incredible, because when he first took her, her mom filed like a missing persons report. And so she was going by a different name. I think she said she was going by like something Rivera. It was a completely different name. And they like practice if the cops come to say like denying who you are and all that. Like the fucking shit is batshit crazy. But she said, her mom said that she got really good advice from a friend, and she said she was going to go with the cops and like really pursue the situation. And her friend said, if you do that, he will just use it to bring her closer to him and further from you and further alienate you as a villain, and it will just make their bond stronger. And the friend said, what you should do is just don't address it with her. Be as nice and supportive as you can, because one day she will realize this is not what she wants, and you want her to call you and know that she can go to you, which I think is a really, really good advice, which like obviously everyone's going to take the advice that they want. But I think in a situation like this where like this teenager truly believes that they're making this choice, that like in some ways that would like drive them closer to their abuser. And I think like being a supportive person for them, like through everything, is a really, really good tactic. Yes, he did literally kidnap her. Yep. There were missing persons posters. Let me find the picture. Missing person poster. I like the name Rada. That's pretty. Ugh, I can't find it. So many things from the Netflix thing aren't on there. But yeah, they showed literally like her missing persons poster that her mom was like taping around. Where was I? Furthermore, she said that because she didn't have any children with him, that made it a lot easier for her to just like pick up and leave and go to California, where she picked up a completely new life. Rada is standing on business. Like Rada's the CEO of Standing on Business. So here is a picture of her with Doc Antle. So this is what I mean when everyone was like, oh, there's his wife, Rada. That's a teenage girl. Like, what are you talking about? Literally, like, who? Is the wife in the room with us? Because I only see a teenage girl. I work in DV advocacy, and that's indeed a good strategy. We love being survivor-centered. Exactly. Yeah, there's Rada. I love Rada. She was standing on business. That's the best way to describe it. So, then we have Don Thurston. This is his third legal wife. Because remember, Sumati was a spiritual ceremony, so they never got legally married. Not much is shared about their relationship in the docuseries, but they were featured in an article together in 1989. And then she died at the age of 29 in a car accident 1 block away from his house, and she's the mother of his 2 kids Cody and Tawny Antle. So, what the fuck? I tried to look more into this, but I couldn't, like, find really anything, like, about her or their marriage. Like, I really just couldn't find much other than that she died in a car accident at age 29. I couldn't even find when the car accident was. Like, very weird and very gross. So speaking of deaths that seem weird, this is the worst segue I've ever done. Let's talk about Mark Topping. This is a picture of Mark. That's Mark in a pool with a tiger. He looks like he's living. So, Mark Richard Topping was much more than an employee. He was more of a partner, because before Doc Antle was Doc Antle, he was living, I think they said it was either California or New Mexico, somewhere out west. Arizona. It was Arizona. And they were involved in drug dealing together. Things were not going well between the two. Mark had had some issues with Doc. So these people have a long history of a relationship. So Mark was apparently a much better animal trainer compared to Doc. He wanted to like learn and adapt the scientific ways. Another animal trainer in the film said that like Doc Antle was like, my way is best, and like wouldn't read things or like listen to science or like things like that. He was very much like the way I know, I'm the whisperer type of a vibe. And apparently Mark Topping was like much more like by the book, wanted to learn like the science behind it. Doc was the kind of guy who believes that there's no scope of improvement in his techniques. Mark mysteriously fell off a cliff while he was on a hike with Doc Antle. Nobody knew exactly what happened. Apparently a day before, there was a heated argument between him and Doc. Nobody knows the reason behind the argument, but Mark had sent a letter to his brothers. I don't know when he sent the letter. They didn't say in the documentary. I'm assuming it was before the fight, maybe after. I don't know. Sent a letter to his brothers, and on the envelope, he said, do not trust Bhagavan Antle. He literally wrote that on the envelope. And apparently Doc owed Mark Topping a ton of money from when they were selling pot together. So that's not good. So it could never be officially determined what happened that day, but many people believe that it was not an accident. Everybody said they had a gut feeling that Doc Antle had a role to play in the fiasco. Mark told his family and friends that soon he was going to stop working for Doc. To make it even more layered, he saw how Doc Antle liked to exploit his staff members, and Mark Topping had been working like 365 days a year. Like Doc Antle works his fucking employees and like barely pays them, and he was like living in not great conditions, so he was just like really over it. And then like we said, apparently Doc owed him a lot of money, and Antle said, if you really take the time to roll it, the murder is so dang silly. So if you don't watch it all the way through, they're pretending that my buddy who lived with me and a guy who hung with me for years fell off a cliff 100 miles from my house. They also mention that Doc Antle is the one that called Mark's family and told them. They did not get a call from the police, which I think is weird, but I don't really know how that usually works. And apparently Doc Antle did not go to the funeral, despite the fact that this is someone that he knew for like 10 years and worked with every single day. He didn't go to the funeral. So, I don't know if silly is the adjective I would pick, but okay, that's what I'm saying. Is like, oh, that's the best word you could think of. I think we could have done better than silly. Also around this time, it was hard to track down the exact years of things. This is also when Doc Antle left Buckingham, Virginia. I kind of heard two mixed things. So, some people say that he left because of this situation with an employee. In the Netflix doc, they said that the cops were coming because he kept having underage girls there, and that's why he wanted to leave Virginia. There's a lot of mixed things about why he left, but one thing that's for sure is apparently he left animals behind. So apparently he left peacocks and deer behind and some other stuff that they said on the Netflix thing. But after being in Virginia, apparently he laid low for a couple years, got some investors, and then he moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That's also where everyone who wants to escape their problems moved. I love your content, but I feel like you'd steal my husband in real life. I do not want anyone's husband. Get them away from me. If you have a husband, keep it at least 40 feet from me. Thank you. But yeah, so he is like flees Virginia in the night, I guess, and then lays low, gets some investors. No one really knows how. And then my man's pops up at Myrtle Beach doing his thing. So he fled Virginia to South Carolina and created the Institute of Greatly Endangered and Rare Species, which is a 5-acre safari and wildlife preserve in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And he is the executive director of the Rare Species Fund, which is a nonprofit organization. Here's a picture of him with some tigers in a pool. Real quick, I want to point out his water shoes. I just want to take a moment for the shoes. If everyone could just take a moment for his little water shoes. I'm finding that very interesting. And the Institute for Greatly Endangered and Rare Species is an acronym. Tigers. It's so fucking stupid. Tigers. We'll call it the Institute for Greatly Endangered and Rare Species. Tigers. You know, he was so proud when he thought of that. Like, tigers. Why? I'm tired of this man. It's about to get worse. So, this is his home and business. This is from their website. It says, like no place on earth, this is your chance to meet and interact with some of the world's most amazing and iconic creatures. Feed an elephant, interact with tiger cubs, watch an eagle soar, monkey around with the great apes, and meet Liger, the world's biggest cat, according to what metric? Located on 50 acres, so he upped it from 5 to 50. This man's has been expanding. This unforgettable, once-in-a-lifetime experience can only be had at Myrtle Beach Safari. And according to a 2015 Rolling Stone interview, customers can go on a tour of the zoo. It is $399 per person, and professional photos with the animals start at $150. People are going in there and regularly spending $1,000. That's something that happens on an extremely regular basis. It has to be. And they're mad strict. You're not allowed to take photos there. They were showing it in the Netflix thing. I've never been there. So, he is also, like, in his fame era during this time. Antle has ties to Hollywood. He's worked on films like Dr. Dolittle, Ace Ventura. He's appeared on late-night talk shows. He was part of the Jungle Book 2, and he is accredited as the principal animal trainer in a bunch of different movies. And in 2001, he was on stage with Britney Spears during this I'm a Slave for You MTV Music Video Awards, which has the caged tiger. And then in 2008, Surya and Roscoe, an orangutan and an orphaned blue tick that had formed a relationship and were like besties, whatever. Oh, blue tick hound. I don't know what that is. Were on Oprah. So this man's is in Hollywood. So here is him on David Letterman. But actually, before we watch that, here's him with Britney Spears. I need to know what she thinks of him. I need to know. And this is what gets me. During this time is when I saw all the videos that were like, this is Doc Antle and his wife Rada, when she's like 17. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Get her away from him? Like, does she have thoughts about him? Does she know? I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't know. Because out of everything that's happened to her, I'm sure this is not that noteworthy as it is to us. How do we tell her? Does she need to know? Wait, pics aren't included in the price. I'm still waiting for the snake side of the event. He's the only one who didn't abuse Britney, I swear. That we know of. That we know of. So anyway, here is him on David Letterman in 1992.
You really should take responsibility for your own self.
This next animal, Dave, is beautiful. Let me move this.
That's not him.
No, I don't mind. Go ahead, Jack.
He'll be there in a second.
I want you to see this next animal. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's if they can open the door, because the thing can't open the door by itself.
Wow, what is this? this? This is a
That's him.
jungle. It's a panther. Is that what it is? It's a panther, Jack?
It's a black leopard.
A black leopard. Oh my God! Wow, that's a huge beast. Whoa, that's a beautiful animal. My goodness, is it safe to have the? Is that a him or a her?
So this is from Tennessee Game Park. Bhagavan's the one that works with cats a lot.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
and then what you can see here is if you look at the melanistic.
The panther
phase,
is pretty
you can
cute,
almost
though.
see the spots.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's almost like it's.
Also, for those of you on TikTok, come to Twitch to see the video.
These are spotted leopards. This is the melanistic phase of the spotted black leopard. But he works with the
Full grown?
Full grown, right?
Yeah. What is the name here?
Shadow.
Shadow. Oh,
Shadow.
good name.
Good name.
Beautiful animal. All right, Jack. Is that all?
He looks like baloney.
I got more.
No, I think we're.
I think we're done though.
Huh?
But anyway,
I think we're.
What?
I think we're finished.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Why don't we let Shadow start?
Why was that so awkward?
The band will jump on you and it'll be a mess.
The mustache is a little pedo-ish. I mean, it's fitting.
Has the animal been trained to jump on me? All right.
But thank you, Shadow. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
beautiful. Okay. Thanks, Jack. Great
So
job.
there's Bhagavan Antle, also known as Kevin, because his name is literally Kevin. But that's a pic of him that's him in the 90s, and then that was him in 2001. So the horrors persist. What, you thought he moved to South Carolina and started being a good person? No, he got worse. So his safari employs an almost all-female staff, and apparently this is how he recruits employees. One is people that are just like obsessed with tigers. He's like, you want to come work here? If they're like young and hot. And then also just by him being a manipulator. And this is the one that really got me. He would go to Renaissance fairs to recruit employees. Imagine being this like 17-year-old who's at a Renaissance fair. And let's be honest, the Renaissance fair is not where people go who are like homecoming king, captain of the football team. They're not at the Renaissance fair. Let's just say that. No hate to the Renaissance fair. Love what y'all are doing. Big fan. But anyway, people that are very young, like 17-year-old, 18-year-old girls at Renaissance fairs see this man with all of these tigers and these cool things and all these girls that seem super happy to be there and they're all being so nice to you. Those Ren Fair girls did not stand a chance. They did not stand a chance. This is why they should do background checks for people at Renaissance fairs. Because what the fuck? Like, that feels... Like, don't disrespect the fucking Renaissance fair like that. Like, the Renaissance fair is where people go to have a good time. Like, people go to the Renaissance fair to be themselves and have a good time. And for you to go to the Renaissance fair to be a predator? Disgusting. Disgusting. Like, do you have no shame? No shame. None at all. Oh, y'all are mad at me for the Ren Fair slander? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just said I'm trying to defend the Renaissance fair from Doc Antle. Because I know who's at the Ren Fair. Some of y'all need defending. The Renaissance Fair's radical history would not stand for pedos. It's meant to be a fun family event. What's wrong with him? Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of vulnerable people at Renaissance fairs that think they're in a safe environment. No, it's true. At least y'all are self-aware. So, he likes his employees to be single, childless, and within 20 pounds of their perfect athletic weight. They must abstain from drinking, smoking, and eating meat. And in return, they live on site full time and are given a small stipend. This is hell. No drinking, smoking, and eating meat, and within 20 pounds of a perfect athletic weight? Count me out. Count me out. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Where are the parents of these children? Most of them are like 17 to 18-year-old girls whose parents are not very involved with their life. Because remember, he learned that trick at Yogaville. He was like, oh, you got to go after the ones who have absent parents. Mind. So, where was I? So Barbara Fisher spoke out in order to expose Antle's lifestyle. She worked there from 1999 to 2007, and she says that she worked as an apprentice while enduring terrible conditions. She also claimed in the documentary series that to make it to the top of the preserve, like to get promoted, you would have to have sex with Doc Antle. And she also said he preferred to be his apprentices' first sexual partners, so they would be bonded to him in this way where they felt like he could get them to do anything. How is he not in prison for this stuff? Like, why is he in prison for money laundering? What about this stuff? This seems worse than money laundering to me. Like, I'm literally terrified of this man. I'm glad he's locked up. Let's throw away the key. Throw it away. Burn it. So Barbara tells of appalling examples set by Antle, from back-breaking 17-hour shifts every day for just $100 a week to sleeping in a cockroach-infested horse stall. Apparently they like live in bad conditions. It's very not the vibe. It's very dirty. It's awful. They're working a ton. Another woman also said that she was passing out at work because they had such a low-calorie diet because he wanted them to stay really skinny. So she was like passing out at work all the time because, like, obviously if you're doing hard manual labor when you're not eating, that's not great. Barbara said that right from the very beginning, Antle was making comments about the way she looked. I remember from the time he was dressing me to get in my Renaissance Fair outfit, he said at that point, you need bigger boobs. So she was at the Ren fairs recruiting with him. After that, they just kept bringing up the boobs until I did it. Apparently, this is very, very common where he would like pressure girls into and pay for them to get breast augmentation done, like breast implants. That was very common. Apparently, everybody got fake boobs around Doc Antle's place. She said within just a few months of arriving at Tiger, she was signed up to have breast implants under constant pressure from her superiors. If you wanted to be in the shows, you had to let him make you flashy, so to speak. So, a mess. Here's some pictures from the Myrtle Beach Safari. I will say the best way to get the vibe is to watch the Netflix doc, because when he was in the first Tiger King, he was like actively participating. So he shows them shit and is being crazy because he's not the one being investigated. And in the Netflix doc, the cinematic choices in that documentary, love it, because they show him on camera. He'll be like, and on this map right here, let me record that again. I don't like the way I sounded. And then go say the same thing. And they include the whole thing. They did not edit it to his liking. And they took all that footage of him before a lot of this stuff came out. So then they got to use the footage in the documentary. So he's super fucking mad about that, which we'll talk about. But because he like consensually agreed to be in the first Tiger King because he wanted the publicity, they have so much fucking footage of like the girls and the outfits and the way, like, where they live, and all. It's so, so weird. He has a giant bed. They show, like, his closet. It's a lot. It is a lot. So, here's some more pics. Some of these are his kids. I think that's his son. These are his, like, long-term girlfriends. He stopped calling them wives. This is an older picture of him. I believe this is at the Renaissance Fair. Okay, this outfit does kind of eat, though. Like, I will say. She looks great. Here's a pic of him just being a weird old dude. There is Myrtle Beach Safari. You can see popular destination. Him with a tiger. Shocking. Another pic, again, with the outfits. Super blurry pic of him with the elephant. And then I think these got repeated. Oh, here's the last one. Here's one of his employees with the, what is that? A lion? I don't know. I didn't realize this is the same Tiger King. OMG, I'm caught up. OMG. Yeah, this is the guy from Tiger King, not Joe Exotic, the other one. Literally so jarring. So his current long-term partners, telling the camera he has a long-time girlfriend partner in China who has been living on the reserve since she was 17. I think that says it all, doesn't it? I don't even think I need to comment further than that. I think we all know. For those of you on TikTok, you are not supposed to be seeing pics. They are on Twitch. You have to come to Twitch. It's free. Don't be scared. Everyone's nice on here. Then there's Ranji, who's been there for 20 years, and Moksha, who's been there for 16 years. He said they all live in separate houses on his land, and he refers to them all as his girls, leading many to assume he's in a relationship with all of them. And he said, when I say my girl, it's a cowboy saying. It's not that these are my wives. Sure, I've had girlfriends and there's girls I've had relationships with that come and go over the decades. I'm absolutely not married now, nor have I been since my wife died over 20 years ago. I'm not married and I certainly don't have wives. I certainly am a single guy and live in a house all by myself. Like, you sound like you're lying. Why did you say absolutely and certainly 900 fucking times? And I think he just realized that not being legally married is kind of better because it looks less suspicious. You know, I think that's all this is. I think he realized, like, damn, when you try and marry an underage girl, people are really fucking weird about it. But if you just call them your long-term, low-commitment spiritual partner, you can't go to jail. I think that's what he meant. OMG, SC Styles, I'm 60 and signed up for Twitch just for you. I love, 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 love that. Great work. Spoken like a guy who's definitely single and Arnold and living alone. Oh my God. So here's a pic of him with his 3 long-term partners. Also, I'm pretty sure those are fake names. Like, I'm pretty sure those were not their government-given names as a child. It's Ken after finding out about patriarchy. And can I just say, I've never seen someone look worse in a tuxedo. It takes a lot to look bad in a tuxedo. But he did it. He's doing it. He looks terrible. So, he has done some other not very chill things in his life. That's not everything. That is kind of a summary of what I deemed to be the worst and the most frequent, but he has done some other not cool things. So we could be here all night getting into all that. So I want to go ahead and get into his current charges, because you might be like, Mr. Dacted, what do you mean his current charges? Isn't he going to go to prison for all that stuff? No, he did other stuff to go to prison. So let's talk about that other stuff. They were all renamed, yes. Oh, I just saw the brain. A moment for the soul patch. So ugly. So ugly. So, I forgot. Before we get into his charges, quick reminder to everybody, Christmas merch is available for a couple more weeks. So I'm wearing, this one's my favorite piece, if we're being honest. It says, all I want for Christmas is a livable wage. QR code is below the Nearpod screen, and the link is in my link tree. But yeah, it'll be up for a couple more weeks. Very comfy, cozy. This is a crew neck. There's no hood. And I also have all I want for Christmas is adequate planning time and small class sizes as well. So those are teacher ones. This is an anyone one, because we all want a livable wage. And even if you make a livable wage, you can still wear this. I almost just knocked my Stanley over. But anyway, let's get into Doc Antle's crimes. October 9th, 2020, he is indicted on wildlife trafficking charges in Virginia. According to an investigation by Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring's Animal Law Unit, Antle and Keith Wilson is the owner of Wilson's Wild Animal Park in Virginia, trafficked lion cubs between Virginia and Myrtle Beach Safari Park. Antle was charged with 1 felony count of wildlife trafficking, 1 count of conspiracy to wildlife traffic, 4 misdemeanor counts of conspiracy to violate the Endangered Species Act, and 9 misdemeanor counts of animal cruelty. His daughters were also facing charges. Tawny Antle was charged with 1 misdemeanor count of cruelty to animals, 1 misdemeanor count of violating the Endangered Species Act, and Tillicum Watterson was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of cruelty to animals. Oh, so that's his daughter with Sumati. Wonder how she feels about this. That's a lot. Yikes. But he was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of cruelty to animals and 2 misdemeanor counts of violating the Endangered Species Act, and Herring's office said a months-long investigation led to the charges, including a search of Antle's South Carolina property in December 2019. So, he was being investigated even before the Netflix thing came out. So it's not like the FBI was like, we're going to investigate you. They were already on top of it. As Mr. Dacted always says, don't go on TV if you're doing crime. Don't do that. Just don't do that. If you're doing crime, don't go on TV. So, this was October 2020. Moving to November 2020, PETA, which is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, files a complaint to the USDA over a dangerous stunt at Myrtle Beach Safari. In a statement sent to News 13, PETA said that the complaint was submitted after a video of Lil Pump was being lifted by Bubbles the elephant. Who's Lil Pump? Oh, a tiger. Was being lifted by Bubbles the elephant. Bubbles has been suffering under this man for fucking 20 years. Free Bubbles. Or maybe is he replacing it and just calling it Bubbles every time? Interesting. How long do elephants live? Lil Pump the rapper? No, a tiger, I think. Lil Pump is a rapper. No. Oh, it was a video with Lil Pump? Stop. I assumed that they named a tiger after the rapper. Let me look this up. Oh. Yeah, that is what's happening. What is going on? Stop, I'm literally terrified. Look. What's happening? This is so much worse than I thought. I don't know who anyone is. Like, I literally don't know who anyone is, obviously. I literally thought that that was someone and they named the tiger after it, and I thought PETA was mad. Let me find it. Does someone have the link to it? I can't find it. In a MAGA hat. This is so 2019 coded. Okay. I think I found it. Hold on. Yeah, I found it. I have to fucking allow ads. Okay, I remember when ad blockers used to work and we were a free country. Okay. This is so much weirder than I thought.
Get a Black Friday deal all month long during
Happy Honda Days, you guys. Happy Honda Days. And a MAGA hat. The MAGA hat really gets me. This ad is 20 minutes. It's only like half over. The West has fallen. I have to watch ads. I don't even know what ARP is. Like, what is that?
Hey, what's up, little dude? Yeah. What's up,
This
folks?
is Daily
Good?
Mail.
This is a tiger. He looks like you're scared.
Yeah, nice. It's like a
Oh.
puppy dog.
Seat on the plane for him.
It's not just like a puppy dog. Get that tiger away from him.
1 pound a day. That's what he's rolling right now. 1 pound a day. So 100 days, he weighs 100 more pounds. 1 year, he weighs 300 pounds. They do grow up.
Put him right in your lap.
Big guy that
What's
is
up, boy?
700 pounds and is 8 feet tall.
Nah.
We mess with them all the time. You don't have strangers messing with you.
We taking just like Ubers, boy. Stay with us. Don't do it.
The hats.
Boy, let's go.
So you're gonna come forward, put your hands on her forehead.
There he
Both on
is.
her forehead. Steady, buddy, go pick him up. Steady. Put your legs apart, put your hands on her forehead, up you're going.
That's so much worse than I thought it was gonna be.
Slow down. You just gotta stay in place and she'll set you back down. Easy for me, Bubbles.
Free Bubbles. She is tired of this. To be a woman is to perform. So, that was like such... I thought PETA was just mad about like a video of a tiger interacting with an elephant. But that's crazy. So anyway, PETA said another captive tiger just tested positive for the novel coronavirus, but the recently indicted Doc Antle hasn't let federal recommendations against cub petting stop his search for a little limelight. Tigers and elephants used in photo ops are caged, chained, and beaten into submission, and they're dangerous and wild animals, is what PETA said. So, November 11th, 2020, he receives $10,000 bond for Virginia wildlife trafficking charges. Antle's defense agreed to a $10,000 unsecured bond with 2 conditions. He can't travel outside the U.S. without permission from the court or the Attorney General, and he must also be on good behavior in all jurisdictions. Virginia officials say that Antle and Keith Wilson, owner of Wilson's Wild Animal Park, like we said, trafficked those lions between the 2 parks. Antle, trafficked means like to move something illegally. So, like, human trafficking is, like, to move humans against their will illegally. Antle has been charged with 1 felony count of wildlife trafficking, 1 felony count... Oh, we already kind of talked about this. They kind of repeat themselves a couple times. So, both men were indicted the following month by a grand jury in Frederick County, Virginia, along with 2 of Doc Antle's daughters. We kind of already said that. And then court processes take a long time. So, while that court process thing was going and he was out on bond, a monkey escaped from Myrtle Beach Safari and bit a lady. Put the tigers on the stand. I want to hear the tigers speak. So, she said that a monkey escaped the zoo and bit her inside her home. Shirley Ann Smothers claims that the monkey bit her in the area and the primate was negligently and recklessly allowed to wander from the zoo's premises. Documents claim that she was at home when she was startled by a noise on her deck, and when she opened the door, she saw a monkey sitting on the railing, which then lunged at her and bit her arm. The zoo knew that the monkey had a tendency to get loose, according to the documents, which claimed that Myrtle Beach Safari was negligent in letting it escape. The zoo should also have implemented measures to prevent animals from escaping and should have warned neighbors in the event of an escape, according to the lawsuit. This is literally crazy that this was his legal defense. Antle's legal answer to the lawsuit in March denies allegations and points the blame to the lady and says any damages sustained by the plaintiff as alleged in her complaint were due to and caused by negligence and recklessness of the plaintiff and her failure to act with reasonable care for her own safety and well-being at the time and place in question, and that she assumed the risk of participating in any activities that took place in her home. By having a house, you assume the risk that a monkey can break in and bite you. Like, no one told you to have a house. Yeah, they're saying she shouldn't have opened the door. They said she had it coming. The monkey broke in. Like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Then, December 10th, he denies the allegations that he's had sex with underage girls because the docuseries premiered. So all that stuff we just learned about comes out when he's being charged with animal trafficking. So it was talking about when he lived in Virginia in the 80s, the sexual relationships, the forged signature. And when asked about these claims, he denied them and said that they were absolutely false. Antle was asked if he conspired to forge the signature of a 15-year-old's father in order to be legally married to her. He denied the claim and says that he doesn't recognize the signature. Antle said that nothing was forged and he's not sure that the paper shown on the show is authentic. He did admit to marrying a 15-year-old girl while on a honeymoon to Myrtle Beach before he moved to the area, but said they had permission from the girl's parents. He also said that she was almost 16 at the time. What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, okay, so I did marry a 15-year-old, took her on vacay to Myrtle Beach, and I said, fuck it, let's just move here. And then we got divorced a little bit later. Like, wasn't even that serious. Like, that's actually his defense. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I did marry a 15-year-old, but I draw the line at forgery. I didn't forge shit. Like, that's really... He said that with a straight face. He tried to make us think it's all chill vibes, and it's really not. Then he calls Tiger King a wild tabloid tale. He called it entirely theft. They made up stuff to create a program that someone would watch. They never said it was a documentary. No one says it's the truth. They just put it out there as a wild tabloid tale. He said everything was the truth in Tiger King. That was Everything that was the truth in Tiger King was kind of taken away and given back in Tiger King 2 as a lie that's all they got is a crazy set of stories that are half truths that never happened. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I can't say this seriously. He also claims that PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, which he refers to as the modern day Al-Qaeda. 1, Al-Qaeda happened in the modern day. So Al-Qaeda is the modern day Al-Qaeda. 2, PETA has done some questionable things, but the modern day Al-Qaeda? And you think people are going to take your side? I told you all that this is a groundbreaking topic. Antle claims that no one reached out to him for the second Tiger King, and he says it's entirely theft, and that the show stole 235 images of him and used them without his consent. I'm just envisioning him watching it and being like, 2, 3, that's 3. He probably wasn't writing it himself. He probably made one of his long-term girlfriend partners write it on how many times they use the pics of him. So, June 3rd, 2022, the plot fucking thickens. No information on charges are available, but on June 3rd, the FBI booked him into jail. So as he's dealing with these Virginia wildlife charges, the FBI puts him in jail and doesn't say anything. It's still not for the child brides. For anyone that was hoping that he was going to face music for that crime. No, unfortunately, no one wants to hold people accountable. PETA celebrated the development. Earlier when I giggled for no reason, it's because I was thinking about PETA being the modern day Al-Qaeda. That's just really funny to me that he said that. They said, it's fitting that Doc Antle is behind bars after years of locking up the endangered animals he used in tawdry photo ops. His legal woes are mounting as PETA recently blew the whistle on his apparent charity scam, and the end of his reign of terrorizing tiger cubs can't come soon enough. So, the charity scam. This is 2 days later. It comes out that the South Carolina Secretary of State's office tells him that his nonprofit missed its deadline to file its annual financial report. So they are an expired nonprofit and are no longer legally able to solicit donations in South Carolina or Florida. I guess they were active in both places. So the state is also investigating the nonprofit after receiving the complaint from PETA. PETA has asked the IRS to investigate the Rare Species Fund, claiming that Antle has used the nonprofit to funnel money into his business. A spokesperson for the IRS told News 13 that the agency does not disclose if there's an open investigation into any person, organization, or nonprofit. So, to you about the nonprofit. And then on June 6th, Antle and his employee are charged with money laundering. For those of you that don't know what money laundering is, let me explain it. So let's say I did a crime. I got paid $100,000 to do that crime. Let's say you own a restaurant. You're not doing crime. You're just owning a restaurant. And I go to you and I'm like, hey, if I give you this $100,000, can you make it look like the restaurant got it? Like just say it was from customers. You can keep 20 grand and give me 80 grand. That's money laundering. It's when you take money that is from like something and make it look like it came through a different source to maybe avoid taxes because you got the money illegally, whatever. And a lot of people do money laundering to pay taxes because if you put it through a legitimate business, like that's like the Tony Soprano vibe. You put the money through a legitimate business, you pay taxes on it, you can't get in trouble because it looks like it was through a legitimate business. That is what money laundering is. It's always the money that gets you. Yeah, you can only do a little bit of crime. So, a criminal complaint reveals that Antle and Andrew John Sawyer of Myrtle Beach laundered $505,000 in cash that they believe to be the proceeds of an operation to smuggle illegal immigrants across the Mexican border into the United States. Wow. Antle and Sawyer would launder the cash by providing checks from a business controlled by Antle and a business controlled by Sawyer, according to the release. Checks falsely stated that they were remitted for construction work on the Safari. Antle and Sawyer received a 15% fee for the laundered amount, according to the release. Antle allegedly discussed his plan to conceal the money by inflating tourist numbers at Myrtle Beach Safari, according to the release. A confidential informant went to the safari in 2019 to meet with Antle, according to the documents. The informant told an employee that they could assist them with a $200,000 transaction and that there would be a 6% charge and up to a 6-day wait. An employee said that they would alert Antle. Another person later said that Antle wanted a one-time delivery and asked that if the fee could be reduced to 5%. "We do not have enough time to wait," a text message from Antle reads. "Thanks for the offer of help. I had to do it today." So they literally have him on text, like laundering money. In March 2021, the informant recorded a meeting with the money launderer who said that Antle had found another way to do the $200,000 transaction, according to the documents. The launderer was also doing a money laundering scheme with others. Another recording later that year mentions $2 million to buy the money and the money laundering, stating that the price was too much and that it would throw up every red flag in my book. So I guess they did the couple $100,000 and then they were going to do $2 million and then they were like, nah, that's too much. Like, that's going to look fishy. That August, the money launderer told the informant that Antle makes millions and millions and millions, the documents read. In a separate conversation with Antle, he reportedly told the informant that they can't communicate through text because it's difficult to that they can't communicate through text and to call because it's difficult to tap a phone. And for them to get a warrant to listen to your phone is almost impossible. A transcription of the meeting reads in the documents. It's just not done in America very much. They just don't listen to phones. Yes, they do. And they're listening to yours right now. That's so embarrassing. In February, FBI agents initiated a reverse money laundering operation in which agents created a business name and bank account in the name of said business. The business was by name only and did not have employees or offer goods and services, according to the criminal complaint. Antle expressed nervousness in meeting later that year about if the money was counterfeit, stating that something explosive would happen, and I believe everybody got killed that did counterfeit deals. So the FBI literally is money laundering with them, and he's like, if it's counterfeit, people could die. FBI agents used the funds to provide cash to Antle to launder the money, according to the complaint. Agents held 3 separate transactions. This March, the confidential informant recorded an interview where Antle asked about a female who was being illegally smuggled into the country to work at Myrtle Beach Safari, according to the documents. They discussed the smuggling operation in more detail, including flights the person would take and how the worker would have to walk through an underground tunnel. The money for the schemes would be hidden by stating it was being used for construction, including on an ape house or on a bathroom, according to the documents. The government is inept until it hears that you're shorting them. The Patriot Act laughing at him while tapping his phone. Dude, maybe stop being so confident when you're messing with the government. Are we getting into immigrant slave labor here? It's unclear if that ever happened or if he just thought it was happening. Because remember it said he thought the money smuggling was to smuggle in immigrants, so maybe he thought he was getting one of them out of it. I don't think it ever happened though. Then on June 8th, his wife forms a new company. China York filed articles of incorporation with the South Carolina Secretary of State for Valley Co. LLC, which shares the name of the chimpanzee at Myrtle Beach Safari. So they literally named a company after the chimpanzee. And the address for the company is the same address as Myrtle Beach Safari. No information online exists for the company. Filed documents provide no information beyond the company name, the address, and her name. And this is a spokesperson from PETA. They said, I mean, it's really hard to say exactly what those LLCs were created for, but given the timing, I would certainly be suspicious that they were created for the purposes of moving and sheltering some of Doc Antle and Myrtle Beach Safari's assets in anticipation for the federal government freezing and potentially seizing those assets, is what PETA believes the new LLC is for. Then a couple days later, his wife forms a second new company. which is named after a different chimpanzee, Scurvia Co. LLC. And again, it's the same address. And then on June 17th, News 13 uncovers a jump in nonprofit donations for the same year that the tax documents were obtained. So it shows that the Rare Species Fund collected $288,000 in 2016, $216,000 in 2017, and then $177,000 in 2018. And then in 2019, the year the scheme allegedly began, they collected $801,000 in donations, and then the following year they only collected $43,000 in donations. Not adding up for me. The documents list that $332,000 was spent on habitat repair construction in 2019 and $129,000 in 2020. His charges allege that Antle hid the money laundering, stating that he spent it on the construction, like they said. Then, see, this case is so much money, so much lies. But somehow, this is the thing I'm least mad at him over. You know? Like, you laundered some money. I care more about the child brides. Let's go back to that. No, we're not going back to that. We said all that needed to be said. But anyway, Antle is indicted by a Florence grand jury June 30th, 2022 for wildlife trafficking and money laundering charges. He's charged alongside 4 other people: Andrew John Sawyer, Meredith Bybee, also known as Moksha Bybee, one of his wives, and Charles Sumit and Jason Clay. Sawyer and Bybee are from Myrtle Beach. Sumit is from California. Clay is from Texas. And Bybee is listed as the general manager of the Myrtle Beach Safari in their website. So, Samut owns a Vision Quest Ranch, which houses exotic animal species and sold tours. PETA celebrated this decision. They said, "Kudos to the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services for doing what the U.S. Department of Agriculture has refused to do for years. Not them having beef within the federal agencies. Crack down on Doc Antle's endangered animal exploitation. PETA will keep pushing the USDA to do its job and revoke Antle's license and stop letting him profit off animals' misery. We do want Antle to be miserable." July 13th, he pleads not guilty to the wildlife charges and not guilty during a 3-minute federal court appearance. If convicted, he would spend up to 5 years in prison for each count. His attorney, Ryan Beasley, said that these charges are from 4 years ago, and he's not sure why they waited so long to bring the charges. He added that Antle's animals were treated better than most humans and said that the charges are on technical issues that the government is trying to get him on. So July 28th, authorities filed documents to seize his property. A notice of liens pens was filed for the piece of land, Myrtle Beach Safari. The auction is pending in the state and district courts as of early August, with documents stating that the federal authorities are seeking judicial forfeiture of that property, so meaning they have to give up the property. And the address for Myrtle Beach Safari is also listed under a business registered in Antle's daughter's name, according to government records. So I guess everyone there has an LLC at this point. Then, August 31st, 2022, the feds accuse Antle of trying to sell Myrtle Beach Safari after he was arrested. They filed a motion to modify his bond after he tried to sell the safari. Court documents allege that he tried to sell the safari to Scurvia Company LLC, which was formed by his reported wife, like we said. The government asked the court to modify his bond to ban Antle from transferring the title to any other organization or any of the animals listed under the Endangered Species Act. And the letter from York's attorney said Antle will have no ownership or leadership role in operating Scurvia Co. LLC. He will not serve on the board or direct any activities of the organization. And then the Rare Species Fund was moved to suspended by the Secretary of State. So like we said, they didn't file their shit on time and they're in suspended mode. September 14th, 2022, he's back in court for the hearing about the bond conditions. After the hearing, his attorney, Ryan Beasley, said the judge reiterated that Antle not violate any of the conditions and not transfer any property. He was granted a $250,000 bond and released from jail in bond. They got the government to modify his bond so that he could leave the state to see a family member. So he petitioned so that he wanted to leave the state. And then he petitioned that. They did grant it, but before they granted it, he did end up getting convicted of wildlife trafficking in Virginia. So this is the original charges, not the money laundering charges, just the Virginia charges. He was accused of, like we said, illegally purchasing endangered lion cubs in Frederick County, Virginia. They were put on for display at the business in Myrtle Beach, and he was convicted on 2 felony counts of wildlife trafficking and 2 felony counts of conspiracy to wildlife traffic. And then a couple days later, the court did modify him to visit his bond. They modified his bond agreement so that he could visit a family member who was in some kind of care facility. So he got to go to Georgia. Good for him. It's a lovely place. So, where are we? July 26, his co-defendant pleads guilty. The co-defendant has withdrawn her not guilty plea from 2022 and entered a guilty plea on the wildlife trafficking. And then Moshka Bybee, so his wife, entered a guilty plea on Tuesday, alleging she knowingly did or caused another to deliver, receive, carry, transport, ship, sell, offer, or sell an endangered species. And then November 6th, 2023, Doc Antle pleads guilty to federal conspiracy money laundering charges. The U.S. Justice Department says that the Myrtle Beach Safari owner, Bhagavan Doc Antle, Kevin, pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy charges and money laundering charges, and guilty to conspiracy to violate the Lacey Act, conspiracy to launder money, the DOJ said in a release, and the Lacey Act is what prohibits the illegal trafficking under the Endangered Species Act. So, there's his mugshot. He's in prison now. Haha. Has he been sentenced yet? Let me look it up. I don't think so. If he was just charged, I'm sure his sentencing hasn't happened yet. Has Doc Antle been sentenced? He was sentenced in the Virginia case. Received a suspended 2-year sentence. And they're still waiting. So he's in prison in the Virginia case, but they have not sentenced him in the federal case. So hopefully he'll never see the light of day again. But I guess we'll never know. Well, I guess we will know eventually. It'll just take a long time. So here were my sources for tonight. He does look unwell in the eyes. Like, I'm actually terrified of him. I think he's going to start a cult in prison, and I'm being so serious about that. Here are my sources for tonight. 'Twas a wild ride putting this together. Let's play the game. We have to do the safari one, obviously. Jungle? Do we want to do Himalaya or jungle? Let me know. This lesson was off the rails, thank you. It really was truly a wild ride. Himalaya or jungle? First one I saw was jungle. I'm seeing lots more jungle. We'll leave the music on. So, this is a trivia game. It is 100% free. I don't need your email address. You don't have to make an account, nothing of the sort. All you do is go to the link that I'm about to put in the chat, or you can go to join.nearpod.com and it will ask you for a code. Our code is 84XAH. Then it'll ask you for your name. Your name will come up on my screen. So if you don't want your government name, put something else. Be funny with it, but don't be gross or racist or weird with it. So it'll let you pick a little character, and then we'll play a trivia game, and your characters get to run up the mountain while we answer questions. It's going to be great. I'll send it in the chat again. I'm trying to sell these boots on Facebook Marketplace. I can't decide if I should sell them or return them because I'm kind of too lazy to return them, but they were $50 and this girl's going to give me $25 for them. But like, I don't know. I do not know what we are doing next week. Let's look at my list. I figured I would think of it with you all. So I've thought about WeWork. I've thought about Lindsay Lohan. We already did the Chrisleys. I've thought about the, what's his name? Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street guy. A history one, please. We've been doing so much pop culture ones. I like the pop culture ones. It's fun. WeWork, the cult leader. Can we do a PETA stream? I don't think I care about PETA enough. Really can't say. My aunt worked for WeWork. What other ideas do we have? History stream would be cool. Oh, TanaCon? Oh, that might be what we need to do. Maybe I will do a TanaCon stream. I don't know if there's enough. I can't do Kim Richards until I'm caught up on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So maybe we'll do TanaCon. Vanderpump, Tom and Ariana, that could be a good one. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I might just do Tana Mojo in general. Yeah, I'll just do Tana in general. If you do TanaCon, watch Swell Entertainment's video. TanaCon could have a Shane Dawson moment. It could. We're going to go Tana. Because I know a lot of you like the history ones, but this is the problem. Like, the stuff that I actually teach at work, I worry that, like, parents or students are going to see it here and, like, take that as my professional opinion, you know? And, like, I just feel like it makes the line a little bit more blurry. And then also, like, I've been talking about history all day, so I kind of want to just talk about, like, something funsy. You know what I mean? Tana in general, because TanaCon was quick. Yeah, exactly. Okay, we'll do Tana. I like that idea. Sorry if I change my mind, but that's the plan. I have not done Trisha Paytas. I don't even know where to start with her. But anyway, I'll give you a couple more seconds to join the game if you want to join the game. You can join on a new tab. You can join from your phone, whatever. And if anyone needs the code again, it is 84XAH. 84XAH. I'll do Trisha eventually. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and start the game because it's been at 35 for a while now. But if you're still joining, it'll let you join late. Oh, my computer's way too loud. I'm hungry. I just remembered I have flaming hot munchies. Love that for me. Where's the game? Here, I'll put the link in the chat again. There you go. What was his first wife's name? Oh, we will be listening to Tana's music. Unfortunately, I love it. She's been problematic many times, but she has some bangers. Swell Entertainment. Let me write that down because I'm going to forget it. Thank you. I trust you. Doc Antle is a doctor because... Oh, good job. Y'all are all getting this right. Ah, someone got it wrong. Invite Tana to come on stream. She might actually do it. I don't think I have enough clout for that, and I don't even know how I would do that, like, technologically, because she'd have to be, like, here with me. I'm sure there's a way I could, like... I guess I could Zoom her and then share my... I'd have to play around with it, you know? He just calls himself that. He's not a doctor. He just calls himself that. What was the name of the cult he lived with in the 80s? The name of his cult was Yogaville. Good job. Y'all are eating this. Also, for those of you on TikTok, I'm going to go bye-byes to you. Have a great night. TTYL. I keep misreading Yogaville as Yogurtville. Where was his first zoo located? Hard question. 17 of you got it wrong so far. Also, gonna plug Christmas merch. Again, we love Christmas merch. It'll be here for another 3 weeks. So order it if you would like it. First place is Bubbles. Oh my god, you're right. Justice for Bubbles. And Bubbles has been alone this whole time. Elephants are smarter than we are, and they're very social. Bubbles should not be alone. When I go, like, so at work, I use my little laptop, and when I go from the laptop to this, I feel like I'm operating a spaceship. What iconic Britney performance was Doc Antle a part of? I got creative with the pics. Oh, it was so cool meeting you the other night. You made my whole year. Oh my god! If you're who I think you are, it was great to meet you too. Actually, it hasn't been bad to meet anyone. So if you met me, it was great to meet you. I've never had a bad experience with someone coming up to me. I love, love, love when you guys say hi to me. And I might look awkward, but I don't feel awkward. So you don't have to feel weird. You can come say hi. Did you see Baloney? Yes, I saw Baloney. I did not post a video with him just because like I was around people the whole day, and my sister has a baby now, so I was with him and stuff, so I just like didn't get the chance to filming with Baloney. But I did post a picture of Baloney on Instagram. He's doing great. He's a great cat brother. He literally lets the baby like hang out. Like they're great together. They love each other. Yes, Hannah Berner. I loved Hannah Berner. Yes, then you're who I was thinking of. I would say I get recognized in public like 5 or 6 times a year, but I also don't go in public that much. So I think that's part of it. Because anytime I go to like Hannah Berner comedy show, there's a lot of crossover there. Like people who have seen me probably have also heard of Hannah Berner. How many long-term partners does Doc currently have? Family time is good. Is it? Am I actually going to be in the top 10? I certainly hope so. Henry Kissinger is dead? OMG, you guys! It happened. I low-key thought he would never die. When did he plead guilty? This is a hard question. To the federal money laundering charges. The right answer was D. November 2023. Justice for Bubbles. I'm so glad you got first place. Then we have a Brooke, a Myrtle Beach parking lot, Cowpokey Kate, H, Frogs, Baby, Sunboy, Mads, Kevin's Girls, ew, ew, a Soul Patch moment, Emma, Kevin, One Crime at a Time, Secret Tent One. That's good. Doc DD, a Tiger King, or a Tiger Queen, gas station roller, a sassy parking lot. I will scroll through the rest. Tiger in a parking lot, Joe Exotic. Nice job, nice job. All right. Any other thoughts, any memes, any lore? Give it to me. Give it to me. We love. Lemur Banana, that was you in first place. Congratulations, you deserve it. Truly. I finally got my students to start putting memes on here instead of just words. Took them a couple months to open up. Slippery slope. Soon they'll be putting things that they shouldn't do, but it's a great great window we're in right now. Go Lemur Banana. We love to hear it. We love to see it. Not the tent gif. I don't have a meme tonight. Just wondering how it feels to be on people's Spotify Wrapped. I don't even know. Like, I feel like my brain just, like, doesn't register that. Like, I saw that, and I'm like, oh. I kind of forget that other people listen to the podcast. Like, I forget that it's not just me and Fraz hanging out. Oh my god, stop. Not him being on Cameo. Not the monkey arm. Joe Exotic got hired to be a dishwasher at a restaurant I worked at, and I saw him there in the kitchen before he got arrested. Oh my god. And then this is Carol Baskin on Dancing with the Stars. This is my favorite ever. I called for help twice, and not a fuck you, what do you need, or nothing. I feel like one day when I'm like in an old folks home, I am just going to be yelling that and no one's going to know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Me hearing the definition of money laundering and realizing my ex-boss was absolutely doing that. And he got away with it because your username said it best, one crime at a time. Imagine if Joe Exotic focused on the murder Doc Angle and didn't commit instead of Carol's husband. And yes, I did see Joe Exotic talk to Hillary Duff's husband on Instagram. The monkey's on the loose in the zoo. In that lady's backyard. Yes, I have done a Jersey Shore stream. It was not too long ago. It will be on YouTube. But tragically, we spent most of it just watching Jersey Shore. So a lot of it got cut out because of copyright, which tends to happen to these things. Tonight, it shouldn't be too bad because we didn't really watch that many clips. But anyway, this was so fun. Thank you so much for being here. Our plan next week is to talk about Tana Mojo. She did go to jail, but for bribing a military official to get a construction contract. I want to do a stream about your boss. Oh my god. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. It was a joy as always. For the tubers, welcome. Hope you want to join us live sometime. But have a great night, everybody. Sleep tight and don't let Doc Antle